Free my mind, don't restrain, like when I was younger and those shining lights.
2024 has been an insane year for me. And as busy as it was, that means I didn't get to play as many video games as I usually do. But alas, it still prevails at the top of my hobbies, and I still played quite a few. Now let's get into the ground rules. As much as I'd like to say that I beat every story this year, my minimum is that I have to spend at least 10 hours in each of these games. That way I can get a gist of what the gameplay is like and review everything from as clear a standpoint as I can. But you guys have heard me talking long enough. Let's get into it, shall we?
Prove to yourself that you have the strength and the courage to be free. Join the Helldivers.
Oh my god. Oh, he's sinking. Oh, he's sinking.
This is a game that kind of popped up again out of nowhere, and I think, to everybody's surprise, very quickly became a big thing. I haven't had this much fun dicking around with some of my friends in a shooter in a long time. It's third-person combat with the option to push into FPS if you need to be a bit more accurate, and it's pretty smooth. The enemies are a ton of fun to engage with and shoot the ever-living daylights out of, and the way you summon stratagems makes me think back to my Street Fighter days. It all works surprisingly well together and creates a cool semi-MMO feeling when you and your friends are bashing all these buttons as a collective. The Terminids are probably my favorite enemies, with a super cool and creepy looking aesthetic that our expendable battle ploys are forced to encounter, mixed with the automatons that are honestly a more challenging experience and create another scenario that mixes up the combat in general. Only downside is the weird battle pass mechanics and shops, plus the amount of time it takes to get new equipment after a certain level, but it's all up to whatever you as a soldier of Super Earth want to do. And since some of the passes don't expire, or at least to my knowledge, there's some time to adapt to your playstyle. Overall, it was definitely a fun period of time this year. So, if you haven't already, I'd suggest at least going in once or twice to drop in and die, you valiant soldier.
Yo, Yucatan. Man, this is a tough case. Even for Junpei Iori, ace detective.
Ace detective? You're so dumb. More like Stupe, ace defective.
If I had to describe this game in one word, it would be beautiful. It did trade out some more of the gritty nature of the original one, but it's genuinely the perfect description of what a remake should be, with heart and soul and quality of life improvement that fans could all want. It all stacks up to this amazing accomplishment of JRPGs. As I've said before, it's rare for a game to make me feel this genuinely connected to the characters and make me cry. Multiple times for that matter. The thing I love about this story is that it's much more grounded and realistic compared to the other entries in the Persona series. I can feel for these high school hunters, this lost graduate, or... oh god. The gameplay loop is genuinely fun and can be challenging or not depending on the difficulty, which is a great touch. Everything feels easier to access, and overall, it really challenges Persona 5 Royal for my favorite Persona game. But there's always a few nitpicks and gripes that I have that I can go and dig in for some of my other videos. Overall though, I think almost nothing can top just how much this hype paid off. Wow, I really wonder how- hey, oh my god!
So guys, I'm currently trapped. Let's go. Oh my god! Diamond! Bro built like Golem.
Welcome to Jackass.
Bomb, it's a bomb!
Content warning was one of those games that I knew I needed to play instantaneously. It's not complicated at all and is way too easy to pick up For people who don't like horror or have never really played scary games, it's a nice opener to see if you really like them. The ragdoll physics, the general point of searching for monsters, and the camera.
It's the rib cage! Give me a hug.
It's all wildly entertaining and gets to the point pretty fast. I will say, the toys you get for earning money are great, but the system of continuing on the same run and maximizing income is kinda wonky. It's not completely streamlined or easy to achieve, which in of itself makes it a bit better, but you're mainly here for the stupid clips you'll get with your friends. It's a fun time for a while, but the missions, other than getting a boom pole, Nerf gun, and it kind of proves that the long-lasting impact of this game isn't really much. Every session of this game doesn't last very long, at least in my experience. But seriously, if you have $10 to shell over and want to spend some dumb time with your friends, it's crazy fun for while it lasts.
It's a beautiful day, full of opportunity. So, who's coming?
In terms of Borderlands, I originally only played the pre-sequel and honestly was a little mixed on the series as a whole. By the third game, they've got it figured out. Now, the story isn't horrible, it's a story, and honestly the writing is definitely not it. But still, the game at its core is really fun. I've been so burnt out of first-person games that the weapon variety and frankly the RPG mix of customization is great. The skill trees are simple enough and good enough to make it worth your while. There's always been a little bit of balancing issues in terms with loot in Borderlands, so take that with a grain of salt. If you're playing Borderlands, it's for the gunplay. It's so creative and satisfying in this game, especially when you can run around at insane speeds and drop basically nukes on people. All the DLCs were fun and definitely delivered their stories better than the main game did. Overall, this shooter with JRPG mechanics really sticks out as a fun game to burn some time on. Though I never really expressed it anywhere, I was mad hyped for this game. This game has been praised over and over again by so many different outlets, and really, I don't know what else to say if I'm completely honest. Gameplay is by far one of my favorite pieces about Rebirth. Outside of the amazing loop of combo attacks and ATB abilities, the super fleshed out materia and equipment systems, the skill trees, which although were a little confusing, helped a lot, it just made this game shine so damn bright. Synergy moves, the affection system which added more buffs, and by the might of the livestream, I have not played an open world game that felt so fresh yet balanced between linearity. In all honesty, I feel like this is my ideal open world. It really catered to my tastes. There's a ton of fun stuff to explore at your own leisure, along with some awesome storylines. It also didn't force you to do any of it. If you want to bum rush the story, you totally can, but then you'd be missing out on a lot. The minigames were all finely crafted as well. Returning my PTSD with the gym minigame, the carnival games, and God, I need more Queen's Blood in my life. I forgot how high of a level I got to in Queen's Blood, but I'll be damned if I wasn't like uber close to the finish line. It's way too much fun to build a deck, wrestle with all those around you, and really just have a blast with this strategy minigame. All the interaction aside, the actual aesthetics of the game were phenomenal as always. One of the screenshots I took is now actually my wallpaper on the computer that I'm using to edit this on. This, plus the cool adaptation of the music morphing into new battle remixes so smoothly. Overall, just the amazing design really complemented the bright colors of this game. I could go on for hours, but you're seeing it right now. It speaks for itself. I was always on the edge of my seat, feeling like I was there with the characters. I laughed, cried, and aggressively shouted at Sephiroth when he was on screen, both as a yeah, screw you, and as a squealing fanboy. The way this game adapts the original story from Final Fantasy VII in a creative way is all I wanted. And now I seriously can't wait until Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Nintendo Land is the I played this game for a concerning amount of time game this year. To be honest, I forgot just how much style this game has. It's refreshing and a blast with the right people. It's a mini game collection, of course, and as much as I'd want to do a deep dive into each, I'll detail a few of my favorites. Donkey Kong's Crash Course. It's a great puzzle game using the motion of the Wii U gamepad to play with physics. It tweaks with a few mechanics, and although it is a little unforgiving at times, it's way too easy to get roped into. Luigi's Ghost Mansion, easily one of the ones I shouted at the most, and when your friends are running from you with crazy flashlights, it creates an awesome and chaotic atmosphere. And my personal favorite, Zelda Battle Quest. Both co-op and solo, it's like the Wii Sports Resort sword fighting, but on like crack. My friends and I grinded the whole thing, all the way past the bonus levels as well. We were hooked. It's physical, strategic, and there's a lot of benefits to those who are willing to keep an extra eye out. To anybody that has a Wii U and is decently smaller library, it's worth hunting down at a retro store. If you don't have anybody to play it with locally, it's probably not the best investment, and I wouldn't suggest going out of your way to play it, but if it interests you, it's a good party title.
A scattered dream that's like a far-off memory. A far-off memory that's like a scattered dream. I want to line the pieces up. Yours and mine.
Kingdom Hearts 2. I went back to the place where I started all of video games. I vividly remember enjoying this one the most with a spice of all of my favorite worlds, some cool characters, awesome Keyblade bashes, and a gap in my memory due to just how long it had been since I opened this game up. It's been 10 years since I last tried to play this. Kingdom Hearts 2 is the best in the series for many reasons. Not only does it start with the spotlight to the best character in the series, but elaborates on Organization 13 and puts Xemnas as the main antagonist. It's got cool redesigns and a lot of belts. Now, I would not be hyping this game up so much if it weren't for the combat. Pushing aside the massive amounts of nostalgia I have for this game, this combat system sticks up to the games of today. And while yes, Kingdom Hearts 2 wasn't the first to play with the action RPG system, it's easy to see the small influences and aspects on everything around it. This game was huge for the RPG landscape, and the combat is the reason why. It plays so smoothly, floaty, yet grounded that makes every encounter feel like so much fun. Creative takes on enemy-specific reaction commands, awesome forms to emphasize different playstyles, so many damn abilities that allow the player to craft their own experience, keyblades to accompany that, and all the small details that make this game feel like damn fine wine. There's not a moment where I was left in a slog. There was always something new around every corner. Now, the cutscenes have definitely aged, but the story, even in its bounces and unpredictable turns, still feels somewhat emotional. Yeah, the voice acting isn't the best either, but I love how slightly goofy it is, especially accompanied with each Disney World. Though, even then, my favorite part about every Kingdom Hearts game is always the Kingdom Hearts without the Disney. Some of the most badass sequences take place in Kingdom Hearts 2, the most memorable being the final boss, which it always should be. The Roxas fight, the damn opening, Sora floating in a damn pod. My boy Axel! I look at this man, how do you not love him? There's a few things I didn't like, but didn't really hate after a while. The gummy missions always just kind of sucked, in my opinion. It just feels like filler here. And the separate bars and timers that were laced into the game worked sometimes, but in the Land of Dragons, the Tron world, and in Luxord's fight, I felt like they were more of a nuisance than a cool new mechanic. It just kept getting in the way, but you could reframe that as a cool challenge if you really wanted to. I love the level balancing outside of that though, the section of the worlds, the design choices. I can say that this is firmly my favorite Kingdom Hearts game. Excluding bias and all that, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10, but this is my biased, corrupted, not credible from a professional journalism standpoint review. So returning to a game that gives me this much solace, being in the right place at the right time, you can never go wrong with it.
I got a flush.
Balatro is insane. If we talk about simple games that have complex and replayable loops, Balatro is the perfect example, hands down. Local Thunk created a simple yet effective roguelike using just poker hands, which is fascinating to me. I really don't know how to say much about this game, but it's enticing. I had my doubts when it got to the game of the year, but now that I've played it, I really don't know any other way to describe this other than addicting. Simple music, simple gameplay, and yet still a variety of experiences and complexities that keep me looking at these damn cards for hours. If you want to go by fast, go by fast. If you get on a really good run and you need to go somewhere, you can kind of just pause. You can just leave. And there's still so many ways to play with different card decks, different jokers, different planets, upgrades, whatever, all along the way. You can tell how good a game is when it's floored me, and I just can't describe how astonishingly great this title is. If you like to see big numbers go burr with amazing style, please buy this game.
I got you. We're bowling. We're bowling. Zach, slow down.
Chained Together is just one of those stupidly simple games that you know, in reality, isn't that complex or interesting at first glance. But the party mechanic making all the players move at once is probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It makes people lock the hell in and really collaborate on something as simple as jumping. Make sure you have good internet, because the second that somebody screws up,
That's awkward.
I'm usually very long-winded here, but with a lot of these games, there's not much to say. The style is pretty simple, the platforming gets challenging with new small mechanics dropping here and there. The controls and actions of what characters can do remains the same throughout. The game's goal is pretty simple, and the vibes are immaculate. Chained Together wasn't anything super impressive, but what makes it really enjoyable is the way they executed the idea and delivered on it for a good price. This is why these games end up going so viral. So if you need another fun rage game to have a good time shouting at your friends with, Chained Together would get my recommendation. Metaphor! I'm an unapologetic Atlas fan, and when I heard the makers of Persona decided to throw their expert makings into a game, and I quote, challenging the range of the fantasy genre, I was hooked. People from across not only my favorite games, but my favorite pieces of media came together on this one game to make fantasy Persona, and I wouldn't have it any other way. From Nier Automata to Neon Genesis Evangelion, this game's credits are stacked. Now, I will agree with its identity crisis in the sense that it feels a lot like a Persona game with the archetypes that are used, but the story itself outside of that is still very, very strong. Hot boy villain, badass Hulkenberg, and deep intricate themes covering the ideas of politics, beliefs, and religion, it really enticed me. Hearing so damn much about this game's intricacies made me eager to delve deep, but the slow introduction, although it was needed, made the barrier of entry a little harder. It's astonishing just how refined this title is in terms of gameplay pace and flow. I can't talk about it enough. I love the ability to switch different stats, follow the small and not too intimidating trees of archetypes, and maneuver around front and backline mechanics with a fascinating play on JRPGs of Atlas past. I love the style of this game. The splashy painting UI and the darker aesthetics are the reason that I've been hyped for this game for so long. And I'd love to talk in depth about my experiences on specific parts of this game, but I can't lie. Right when it released, I dropped about 20 hours into it, no hesitation, picking each and every detail apart. I played every demo at AX, ran the prologue demo, reported on it, yapped about it, converted people, but October was when this big old thing called life took over. But even outside of that, it's still one of the best titles across the board to release this year. Metaphor takes everything from Persona, SMT, Unicorn Overlord, and Atlas in general to really celebrate how good of a company they are. And the music is so good. I may not be the most qualified, but considering my bias and how it's been so far, I think I'm going to put a prediction that this game is a 10 out of 10. Fuck. I genuinely wish I could review more of Jump King, but of all the games I played this year, I have to say I'm probably the least qualified to talk about Jump King because of all the Fadian games I've played, this one definitely fits my style the most and has some amazing set design, simplicity at its core. The fantasy vibes are a ton of fun and can easily rope you in. The creative ways it makes you utilize jumping and the sort of timing it's required became a huge relief when you're finally able to land a jump. The levels, the secret hats, the switch in tone every now and then, and this old dude who I've seen too much really made this a goofy, lovable streamer title. So it's worth a shot. And that's about all the detail I can give you because I suck at it.
Heidelin. A vibrant planet blessed by the light of the crystal. Amid azure seas, encompassing the westernmost of the 3 great continents, there lies a realm embraced by gods and forged by heroes.
You know that video you were talking about earlier about like the I played Final Fantasy 14?
Yeah.
I just hit a scene and I'm like, yep, that's a thumbnail. Okay, so you've seen the Game Awards. You've seen Final Fantasy 14 nominated every year for the best community support, and it deserves it every year. Final Fantasy 14 is easily the best MMORPG that I've ever played. It's vast, expansive, it generally allows the player a lot more agency than a lot of MMOs. Aside from me wilding over character customization though, the detail of this game is second to none. The story is more of a classic fantasy feel, with a lot more chocobos, moogles, and whatnot, and different factions that were once amidst a war facing a new threat, followed by massive amounts of DLC. But what I played was the free trial, which surprisingly enough gains you access to, and let me say this clearly, the first 50 levels of the game. Now, when my friends got on my ass to join them in this game, I did get a little worried. My previous experience with this type of combat was early Xenoblade Chronicles, and as much as I loved the characters and the general vibe of that game, I hated the gameplay. I gave 14 a shot anyway, and somehow it makes that system more tolerable. And though the hotbars are terrifying sometimes, this array of options became probably my favorite part of this game. Yes, your basic attacks are still automatic, but the ability combos make everything feel so much more engaging. Personally, I played Paladin. I mean, I never really got where I needed to officially get the subclass, but the tank role was wildly fun. I loved charging in to grab aggro, buffing up myself and my teammates, and having to maneuver around the AoE attacks. Fill queues may take a minute, but will give you an opening pretty damn fast. Anyway, you've heard a lot of good things about this game already, so go play it for free, see if it's for you. Because if I had the time, I'd invest more than the 30 hours I already have. When I was introduced to Inscription, I was told I was not allowed to do any research. I wasn't given anything going into it. I was just told, play it. And now that I've played it, I wouldn't have it any other way. There's a few things I do want to tell you guys though. One of those facts is that you should probably like card games. It's not the only thing about Inscription, don't get me wrong, but it's more than worth knowing that, and only that going into it. I really want to talk about this game a lot more, but I want to give the same experience to everybody listening that I had. So, just play it. Launch it up, get invested. Come back to me and tell me that you can't really pin down a genre, a topic, or a game, but trust me, it all works so well that it's one of the best experiences that you can give yourself. Seriously, this game just makes you love video games. Style-wise, gameplay-wise, story-wise, and general aesthetic-wise, it's one of those games that's just genuinely rejuvenating to play. Webfishing. As that one video essay said, it's the return of chat room games. Have you ever wanted to just let your stress out and relax? Like a chill game to calm down to and almost absolutely nothing else doing? Well, Webfishing hit that spot with a bullseye. It takes the best part of all video games, the fishing, and makes it an Animal Crossing inspired Club Penguin room where you can simply cast your reel, click a few times, strategically place yourself, and call it a day. And the fishing is actually fun, reminiscent of both Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley. Not to mention how large some of these damn fish can be. Plus, a robust character creation, nice audio design, fun style, and awesome little trinkets to mess around with make the whole sector of this internet feel like a comfy space. Though as always, be wary because it is still online. It's a really nice game that you can play while having a heart-to-heart with your buddies. So honestly, I'd give it a lot more high praise. It's not much, but it's worth the $5. And great for making cool intros and transitions for content. Now, in all honesty, it took my damn heart and soul being ripped out of my chest not to put Metaphor ReFantazio here. I really want to, I promise you. I just couldn't do it justice in this segment since I've not invested anywhere near enough time into it. Plus, in all honesty, as amazing as it is, it didn't shatter everything I've known about video games for a while. It's the pinnacle of an Atlas game, yes, but still, it's an Atlas game, and after your first, you kinda know what you're getting into. It shifts the formula enough, don't get me wrong, but it didn't take my top spot. So going off of my list of games, Persona 3 Reload was amazing, and I've talked about it a lot already. I just feel like I like it more because of the fact that it's still Persona 3's story. To follow that up, Kingdom Hearts 2 is my next up and running, because going back to my roots really revived my love for video games for a while. But in reality, something that's been best of both worlds that I've really been simmering on is one that's had a surprisingly much larger effect on my life outside of gaming. And it's all because of a damn card minigame.
This is the most entertainment I've had in this video game.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth took the game before it and said screw it. You get open worlds, made the most addictive minigames in the world, and literally shuffled the original story of Final Fantasy VII so much that I don't even know if I can call this a remake anymore. It's at this point a new game with similar plot points throughout, yes, but revitalized in one of the best ways I could ever imagine. Engaging boss fights, vast worlds to explore and corners to uncover, and live orchestral music that is the reason this game is still on so many minds. Take the biggest shoes ever for a remake and make them 10 times larger, and Rebirth still fills them in after remake. There's so many small nuances that really made this game feel like such a memorable piece of media. And if you want the connection as to why this game hit me so much this year, it's the only one I actively screamed, cried, and felt the rainbow of emotions in after Reload. Because as much as the story of Final Fantasy VII is in stone, there were so many damn points where I wasn't sure what was going to happen. It was genuinely inspiring and helped me to begin writing my stories outside of it. It may also be live music bias since I was at the orchestra this year, but there was just something so magical about everything that came together to culminate in this game. Usually I have a really easy time deciding the game of the year, but it took me a lot of inner thought and turmoil to really decide what had a lasting effect on me this year. And if my friends have to tell you anything, it was definitely Rebirth that takes the cake. Also, goddammit Queen's Blood, you're the damn reason this game is here. At the end of the day, 2024 has been an amazing year for me, and I oathed last year to try and make it the best year of my life, and I firmly believe I have, but in the same sense, I had to sacrifice a lot of video games. And take that as you will, but the less time that you have for a video game, the more you learn to appreciate it, the more you really invest your time into it when you get it. Even though it might just be a few hours on Balatro, it's still something there to ease the tension at the end of the day. And outside of video games, I did so much this year. I ran a convention panel, I traveled to Japan, I went to the Game Awards. I didn't know you could do that. What a wild ride of a year. And it's only a fraction of an excuse as to why I've been gone for so long. So, cheers to an insane 2024 and an ever-expanding backlog. And I hope I will talk to you all next year.
childish nostalgia.
Oh, and sorry about leaving you in the dark for like 7 months.